red pine. It's actually pretty good firewood, but it's used for making paper, mainly toilet paper. So you guys use this a lot probably. This one is not too bad smelling. This one smells just like horse crap. It's terrible, absolutely terrible. So here's the difference. Those are both cherry. Today on In the Woodyard, we're doing firewood identification. Here we go. So what we have here is a bunch of different kinds of wood. There's probably 30, 35 different kinds of wood that I have here. I walked around my wood yard and gathered up a whole bunch of different things that I have. I picked up some stuff I had at my old wood yard that I had in buckets for a year that I've been kind of saving just to go do this kind of video to show you guys kind of what it is. And then when I was at the Hoosier Hysteria last week, there was a guy there that came from Oregon, and he gave me some kinds of wood that we do not have here, and it's really cool, so I'm going to show you that. So I also have my splitting axe here, this Husqvarna axe, and the reason I have it is there are some pieces here that have not been split yet, and we're going to split them open so you can see what it looks like on the inside. And I'm also going to split open some of the chunks that are already split just to show you the inside, a fresh cut to what it looks like. So when you're trying to identify wood, there's lots of things that you need to look at. You need to look at the bark, you need to look at the wood grain, you need to look at the color of it, you need to look at the grain on the side, you need to look at the grain on the end, you need to look at obviously the color and the texture of the actual bark. And the further a tree is on its way to drying and being used for firewood, the harder it is to know what it is, because as wood ages and dries and seasons, it tends to gray, the bark comes off, the color changes, so it can become very difficult. Totally different than looking at live trees. There's no leaves to look at. You don't have the base of the tree to look at and then compare it to the limbs to see the different structure as far as what the actual bark looks like, because a small tree and the base of a big tree or the branch of a big tree can look totally different, even though it's the same kind of wood. It can look smoother, darker, lighter. It can be rougher. It can be totally different. It can start to peel. All kinds of things can happen to it to make it look different. And as wood ages, just like people, the looks start to change. And I'm going to go over some of the things what to look for. So now, besides the looks, you also can smell the wood. Yes, I can identify a lot of wood by the smell, a lot of it. There's some that are hard to tell because they're very close, like some of the pines, spruces, and fir trees. They smell fairly similar to each other, but sometimes there's little differences that you can pick up on. Also, the weight of the wood, you can feel it. If it's a really light wood and there's no bark on it and it's got a smooth surface, that eliminates a lot of different kinds of wood. And I'm going to go over some of these. I'm going to show you the differences. And then after we go through all the stuff I have in the back of my truck here, we're going to walk around my wood yard and I'm going to show you the importance of separating your wood when you cut it and split it and then pile it or stack it, whatever you do for storage. Because I put my wood in specific places so I know what kind of wood is in which bin and where and how long it's been there. And it's easier to identify then. Because there's times when I go into a pile that someone have taken a chunk of wood from one bin and thrown it into another, or it's a piece that came from a different source. I look and I think, what is this? This is not what's supposed to be in here. And then you got to play the detective game. So I'm going to go over some of this stuff and show you what to look for right now. So some of these I will show you a couple different times with different comparisons with bark, without bark, different kinds of wood. These two are different kinds of wood and they're pretty easy to see. This here is a piece of black cherry. This here is a piece of white oak. So on the inside, the cherry will have kind of a orangish color to it, and when it's fresh split, it's almost like a brighter orange, or it's not as light as this. And then the white oak on the inside, when you first split it, will also have kind of a orangish look, but it's stringier. It's got a different look. It's just, I don't know how to describe it. There's little checks in this if you look really close. This one doesn't have that. One thing that oak has that's different is you're going to have lines on it that are going to be different. The bark is going to be different from different kinds of oak. Now this is a piece of white oak, and I also have some other kinds of oak we're going to compare it to in just a minute, but just to show you, this is pretty easy to tell apart. And then if you come over here and you look at this one right here, some people would say this is a piece of aspen or poplar, but it is not. This is cottonwood. And the reason I know it is it was cut today. This is cottonwood. And then if you look at this piece right next to it here, you would think, oh, that must also be aspen or cottonwood. But no, it's not. This came from Oregon. This is totally different kind of wood. We're going to talk about that in just a little bit. So I'm going to start pulling some of these out and just show you what to look for the identification. So like I said here, piece of cherry. And on the inside, the other thing is smells fantastic. It smells like cherry, no doubt about it. This piece of oak, obviously to me, I can see it looks like oak, feels nice and heavy, and it smells like white oak. Now, if you split a piece open, even though the moisture is pretty much gone from it, this fully seasoned, you can still get that hint of white oak and you can kind of smell it. So that's white oak. These next two are the same kind of tree, but look at that. The reason I have these up here is to show you the difference. So this is obviously a branch piece, and this is from a bigger, more of the trunk. This is a piece of locust. This is also a piece of locust. And we call it black locust. That's kind of what it is, but it is green on the inside. So you can see how heavily textured this is, and it has very different variations in the bark. Whereas here I can see that it's similar, but more fine, not as big and rigid. As the trees get bigger, the bark gets deeper and deeper and more pronounced. And that's true of a lot of kinds of wood. They will change as they get older. Now, I'm gonna cut this one, I'm gonna split it in half so you can see the inside of it right now. Okay, so I just split this piece in half, not in half, I just took a chunk off of it. But see how this is kind of like it's almost like a lime color, and when the tree is fresh cut from a living tree, it'll almost be like not iridescent, more like a fluorescent. So I want to show you the difference here from a dried piece. Now look at, this is the same wood. See how this fresh cut one, a fresh split one, is kind of the lighter green color, and this will age to look like this. So that's how confusing it can be. That's why it's not something you're going to learn overnight. I constantly am looking at wood and trying to figure out what it is. I'm sniffing it, feeling it, splitting it, lifting, just trying to figure out. So there's the locust. We're going to throw that off to the side here. The next one we're going to grab is real obvious. These right here, well, not this one. These right here are the same wood. Now, the reason I know that is because I took this from my birch pile. This is called paper birch or white birch. That's what it looks like on the inside. And this is what it looks like on the inside if it's been aged. See how it starts to turn gray? But once the bark comes off, and I can see that little piece of bark right here, and I know it came from the birch pile, so this is birch. And so pretty easy to tell birch. It's got that kind of bark. Now, there's a kind of wood that we got, and I'm going to show you later on, that we got from Oregon that I thought was birch, but it's not. This one right here is a piece of elm. And in comparison, this one right here is a piece of box elder. Quite different bark. Now the reason I know this is box elder, because I did cut it, but if you look on the inside, you got that little kind of pinkish stuff in there, box elder. And I'm going to split this one right now. Okay, so I just split the box elder apart. This is already pretty dry on the inside. You can see the pink in there and the white, and so that's what it looks like on the outside. Now, box elder has a very distinctive smell, and box elder is a member of the maple family, and it is very similar in the way it burns to soft maple. And a lot of people think it's trash wood, but like I like to say, all wood burns. There is the box elder. Now I'm going to attempt to split this one. It might be hard. There's a piece of elm. And as a lot of you know, elm is Satan wood. It's like splitting cable, so we're going to give it a try. There it is. I just split the elm in half, and it has kind of a spicy smell. I don't know how to describe it. It's just kind of spicy. You smell it. I don't know how to describe it, but that's the way I would describe it. This one actually split pretty easy. One hit and it was through. But a lot of times you're going to have it where it's all twisted and gnarly. So there you go. There is the elm and what it looks like on the inside. Okay, so here we're back at the piece of cherry. This is also a piece of cherry with no bark on it. Look at the inside, you can see that kind of orangish color. And I can also smell it. It smells fantastic. So, both cherry. Here's another example of a piece of cherry. Now this is a piece of limbwood. That's what the limbwood looks like on cherry. Quite different than the bark on the more of the base of the tree or the trunk of the tree. So there's a young branch here, so you can see what that looks like. So these are all cherry. That's how confusing it can be. Look at that little bug, he's going to town. So now we've got some red oak. This is red oak. This is from a more of a larger trunk piece. And this is what it looks like when the bark comes off, but I can see on the inside that it is for sure red oak. And that's what it looks like. And the red oak, when it's a young branch, it's going to be a smooth kind of a bark. This one right here, also red oak. But yet, it's very hard to tell, but I just know it is because of what it feels like, what it looks like, and where it came from. So this is all red oak. Now, I'm going to show you some white oak. So this is white oak, but this is a member of the white oak family, but it's not white oak. There's actually bur oak. Bur oak has a much deeper grain texture to it. This one right here is white oak. If you look at the inside, you can see it is white oak. This one right here is also a piece of white oak. And this one right here is also a piece of white oaks. But there's different kinds of white oak, but these are both white oaks. I can see by the grain on the inside, it is a white oak. So they can vary quite a lot. And then, like I said, there's several different kinds of oak that we have, a white oak. And the two that I know for sure is the bur oak and the white oak. And this one right here is also white oak. And again, look at how different the texture of the bark is. But yet it is white oak. So that's where it can get really confusing, especially with aged wood. These are all white oak. The next we're going to talk about is hickory, and these are all hickory. This one right here, this closest one, is shagbark hickory. This one here is smoothbark hickory, also known as bitternut. So it's much smoother. They're both considered hickory, but one is a shagbark and one is the bitternut, but both hickory. On the inside, it's almost impossible to tell the difference. And when it's dry, it sounds fantastic. Hickory sounds great when you pound it together. So there you go. Those are the hickories. We're going to throw those to the side. The next two I'm going to show you, these are ironwood. And you can see the inside, it looks a lot like hickory. The color of it, the texture of it, but the outside bark, it's more scaly. And this is ironwood. This is, in Wisconsin, the hottest burning wood we have. There's only one other wood that's close to it, and that is blue beech, which is also considered an ironwood. And I think I've got a piece of that in here. I'll dig it out, so I'll show you the difference. Very heavy, very dense wood. It puts out like 28 or 29 million BTUs, whereas Osage orange is 32, so this is darn close to the best wood. And this is the best wood we have, because we do not have Osage orange here. I have a piece of it here, but we don't have it in Wisconsin, in this area anyway. Here is another piece of ironwood right here. There's another one, a bigger one. You can see the inside. Very dense, very slow growing. Like this tree right here is probably a 100-year-old tree. Very, very slow growing wood. And I'll throw this to the side, and I see the blue beech right here. And I see the blue beech is right here. This is blue beech. Very smooth. Again, this is also a kind of ironwood. So totally different, but they're both considered ironwoods. Blue beech, regular ironwood. There's another name for this. I cannot think of it right now. That is called in different parts of the country. It starts with an H, if I remember correctly. It's not hedge, but there you go. Here's another hickory, another shagbark one. Let's throw those to the side. Here's another chunk of white oak. You can see how stringy it is. It's not a piece of white oak. I'm just kind of going through this. Here is an example of hard maple. So this is hard maple without bark. This is hard maple with the bark. Again, this is very dense wood. Sounds fantastic. When it gets really dry, the bark does start to come off. Or it falls off. Most of it will come off. So anyway, hard maple, great firewood. Different texture to it, but it's also hickory. Here's one right here that's quite different. This is hackberry. It's got ridges that stick up. I don't know how to describe it. It's just totally different looking than any other wood. And then on the inside, it gets kind of rotten and the bark peels off. This is at the bottom of a pile. But on the inside, it looks like this. So it looks very similar to ash, I think, on the inside. But the bark, very highly textured like this. That's hackberry, and that's pretty good firewood too. This is Osage orange. And this was brought to me by a guy that's from Indiana. You guys probably know Mike from K&L Firewood. He gave this to me a couple years ago and I've been saving it. Super heavy, super dense, you can tell. But this also looks a lot like mulberry, which is right here. Mulberry, when it dries, it's a little more of a golden, not so yellow. And this is mulberry, what it looks like on the outside. So mulberry, very good firewood. Osage orange, the best. Very, very dense wood. Here's another piece of Osage orange. Very golden, very heavy, very dense wood. 32 million BTUs. If you got this, awesome, awesome firewood. There's another piece of mulberry. You can see the mulberry has that white stripe right on the edge like this one does. You can see it right there. This one right here is a piece of walnut. As you can see, the walnut has that dark center and then kind of light on the outside. There's the bark. That is walnut. We don't have a lot of that around here, but that's what that is, walnut. So here, this is the same tree. Yes, this is the one I showed you earlier. This is cottonwood. And this is what cottonwood looks like when it gets mature. Very deep, very heavy grains to it, very light. There's nothing to it, it's like air. It's a lot like aspen or poplar. So you can see here the difference in the bark. Same tree, that's why it can be confusing. These two I have in there because they are not normally associated with firewood, but they're just totally different looking. This is a piece of wood that I cut from a tree that died, or actually a bush. This is from a lilac tree or bush. And a big lilac tree will get maybe about this big, but this is not lilac. This is lilac, very heavy, very dense wood, and I can tell because I remember cutting it, it's got kind of a ring on the inside, so that's a piece of lilac. This one right here, this is sumac, staghorn sumac. This stuff, when you burn it, explodes, it snaps, it crackles, it pops. I don't know how to describe it. It's got some type of a resin or sap in there and it just explodes. And certain kinds of woods are like that. Osage orange is like that, but there it is. And it's very explosive wood. It's a very light wood, and this is a pretty big chunk of it actually. This one right here is thorn apple. You can see by the bark, very heavy, very dense wood. It is a member of the apple family, but it's a wild growing tree. Very good firewood. A big one of these will be maybe 10 inches across. So very good firewood. It's a very bushy tree and it has actual thorns on it and little bitty apples it grows. Thorn apple. Well, both of these are birch. This is a white birch or paper birch, and this is a yellow birch. You can see right here. This is a yellow birch. This is much better firewood than this. White birch has probably 1/3 less BTUs than yellow birch. Yellow birch is very good firewood, and we don't have a lot of it around here. It grows more in northern Wisconsin, but very heavy, very dense, hard to split, stringy, nasty wood, but it's excellent firewood. So yellow birch, white birch. This piece of wood here is a kind of wood that if I was to see it without knowing where it came from, I would guess this to be jack pine, but it is not jack pine. I got this wood when I was in New Mexico visiting my very good friend Jeremy. This is from the mountains of New Mexico. This is pinyon pine, or as he likes to say, pinon pine. This is a very hot burning wood. A lot of people think, oh, pine is no good, but this particular wood has as much BTUs as oak, maybe even as much as hickory. Awesome firewood. Very slow growing. The rings are just almost touching each other. Very heavy, very dense, very hot burning wood, so pinyon pine. This here is a piece of wavy maple. You can see from the inside how wavy this is. This would have been great sawn up as lumber because of the texture in it, but it's hard maple and it's very wavy. This is where the bark was. You can see, I don't know if you guys can see it, it's very wavy. Very cool structure to it. It's sad splitting something like this open because it would have been such cool looking boards. But the tree that this came from was a crooked, nasty, old, rotten thing, and this just happened to be the section that looks cool. Supposedly, some people say it's the pressure of the tree, some people say it's the rocking motion, some people say it's a disease, some people say it's a genetic trait. They don't know, but very cool. So, these are both the same kind of wood. This is a piece of hard maple, straight. This is the wavy one, both hard maple. Here's another piece of hard maple. You can see once it turns gray, This is the bark on it. So all hard maple. Awesome firewood. Okay, both of these are the same kind of tree. This we have very, very little of here. It's butternut. Not bitternut, butternut. It's just average firewood. It's very nice for making furniture. It's very pretty. It's got like a sheen to it, but that's butternut. Very rarely see that. So both of these are the same kind of wood. One has bark, one does not. This is white pine. Not great firewood for heat, but for campfires it's awesome. So this is white pine. Now my good friend Dan from Back 40 Fire would also refer to this as morning wood. So these two are the same kind of wood. This is red pine. You can see by the inside it is red pine. This base piece that had the bark that fell off here is from the bottom of the tree where the bark is rougher. This is more from the upper part of the tree where the bark is more flaky and it flakes off like this, red pine. It's actually pretty good firewood, but it's used for making paper, mainly toilet paper. So you guys use this a lot probably. This one right here is a piece of cedar. This is a pretty big one. Cedar is very soft, and I'll show you this in comparison to ironwood. So here we go. Similar structure as far as the bark, but yet different. The ironwood tends to peel more like this, and the arborvitae or cedar has more of a smoothness to it. The cedar also is much lighter wood, fast burning, whereas this is very slow burning. So similar looking wood on the outside, but very different. The cedar has half the BTUs that the ironwood does. So now we're back to the chunk of cottonwood that we had earlier. This is cottonwood. This one right here is a piece of aspen or poplar. Very, very similar. It does look similar, but the leaves are totally different. The smell is totally different. They both burn fairly slow. They both smell totally different. This one is not too bad smelling. This one smells just like horse crap. It's terrible, absolutely terrible. And yeah, I don't really like it, but there it is. This piece right here, almost impossible to tell what it is because the bark came off, but I know what it is because of where it came from. This also came from New Mexico. This is ponderosa pine, or as they like to call it, pondo. Very similar to white pine. That's what this is. Okay, so both of these are maple. This one is soft maple or red maple. This one here is hard maple, and you can see the checking on the inside of the wood. And then this one right here does not have the checking. This is more of a wide check, and this one has a very fine check to it. This is much lighter, this is much heavier. The hard maple has quite a bit more BTUs in it than the soft maple. Probably, I would say 30% more. I'm just a guess on that to be exact, I don't know, but they both burn good. Soft maple is nice for like fireplace wood or campfire wood. Hard maple is more for like heating. So both maples. Here's another example of limb wood or the top of a tree versus the base or the trunk of it. This right here is spruce. Spruce is going to have lots of limbs. It always does. And very light wood, fast burning wood. It's what they have in a lot of the parts of northern Canada and Alaska, spruce. And that is what that is. So this is an unsplit piece here. Fast growing. It's pretty good wood. But it does split hard, and for a lot of people, this is the only wood they have. So spruce, not pine, spruce, different. Both evergreens. Now in Wisconsin, we have white pine, we have jack pine, and red pine that are native. There are some other species that have been imported like Scotch and things like that. And then when it comes to the spruce, we have white spruce, black spruce, blue spruce. There may be some other ones I don't know, but those are the main ones, white and black spruce. These are white spruce. Okay, so now we're on to the odd ones. These just came to me from Oregon. And the first one we're going to talk about is going to be the alder. So right here is alder. And apparently this is a pretty big one, and I believe it. And he told me that it turns orange like that after it's cut and after it's split. When you first split it open, and I split this about 30 seconds ago, it's nice and white. Look at that. So that's the color it turns into. So this to me looks a lot like our alder, but we have alder that grows more like the swamps, and a big one would be this big. This would be a really big one, and it would be more of a crimson or a darker kind of almost like a plum color like this right here. So this is their alder. Apparently this is okay firewood. It feels like it's okay. This is wet, and I will burn this sometime. We're going to save this, and we're going to make a fire with this stuff someday. So this is alder. Apparently it makes really nice furniture, so there's a big chunk. The next one is the one that totally stumped me. Not stumped as in, you know, wood, but I saw this and I thought this has got to be some kind of birch, because it is peeling just like birch wood. And we looked it up. He told us what it was, and I looked it up, and he was not lying. He was correct. This is cherry. Looks nothing like our cherry. It smells nothing like our cherry. And that doesn't smell bad, but it does not smell like our cherry. I will show you what our cherry looks like. I'll grab a piece. When our cherry is young, it looks like this. So it does have a smoother bark to it, and it does peel off similar to this cherry, but as ours gets older, it's more of a flaky bark. So here's the difference. Those are both cherry, which is bizarre to me, but that's what it is. We looked it up. So, and it does not smell nearly as good as this cherry. And in the inside, they're fairly similar. Ours is a little more orangish colored. So that is cherry. That was really surprising to me to find that out. So there it is, cherry. Very cool. The next one is super bizarre. So this green stuff here, I would have sworn was probably some type of a poplar or aspen, cottonwood kind of stuff, but it is not. Here is the base of it. Apparently this is a really big one, and it's darker on the base. You can see that's the butt cut. And then here is, I'll grab this one. Here is the upper part. It turns more of a green like this, or starts green, then it gets more like this brownish color, so it turns into this. And I'm having a hard time lifting these because these are extremely heavy, dense wood, like ironwood. And I split one open, and that's what it looks like on the inside. It looks a lot like our maple, our hard maple. But I would say a cross between a hard maple and like box elder is what it looks like on the inside. And it kind of smells like box elder. And apparently, there's no known BTUs in this. I'm going to try to find out, but I would believe it's very dense wood, and he told me that this is the hottest burning wood they have, and that this piece right here is a really big one. And it is maple. It's vine maple. That's what this is, vine maple. Very cool stuff. So I've never seen vine maple before, which is what this is. I've never seen cherry look like this, and I've never seen alder, which is this stuff right here, like this. So these are all new to me. Very cool. Now, if any of you have different kinds of wood that I have not shown here, and I haven't covered them all, I've covered basic ones. We have a lot more. We have like 45 or 50 different kinds of hardwoods and about 10 different softwoods here. In the Midwest and in the eastern part of the United States, we have a wide variety of wood. And where this came from, he told me they have like 6 or 7 kinds of wood, and that's it. Like if you're in Alaska, you're gonna have spruce. I think your other choice of wood is spruce. There's a lot of places in Alaska they have cottonwood, spruce. They have some birch, but not much. I mean, this is a different kind of wood to me. So in the comments, if there's a kind of wood that you have that you know is unique to your area, number one, I'd like to hear about it in the comments. Number two, if you ever see me at a show, or you know I'm going to be at a show like the Paul Bunyan show, or if I'm going to be at one of the different logging shows, bring me some wood that I haven't seen. I'd be really happy to see it and show people on the channel. Or you can send me some in a box too, I suppose you could. So if you're interested in that, you can get a hold of me by going to chrisinthewoodyard at gmail.com. There it is, wood. So here's all the different kinds of wood that I just went over showing you guys. And so I kind of collected them. I'm going to go around by my bins here and just show you how we keep our wood separate and how I know what kind it is. These two got set over to the side here because those are spruce. You can see by all the knots on there. And we didn't want to mix that in with any of the other wood. This whole bin here is probably 97% hard maple. There is a little bit of ironwood in here. I can see one right here is a piece of ironwood. Right there's a piece of ironwood. See, here's a hard maple right here. All hard maple, this whole pile. Like I said, the vast majority of this is hard maple, and there's 5 semi-loads there, so 60 full cords is what we started with. We've probably taken out 10 full cords already and sold it. I'm gonna walk around to some of the other bins so you can see what we got here. This bin right here, from here all the way down to, I think, all of it? Yeah, this whole bin. This is also all hard maple. The whole bin is hard maple. I forgot that's what was in this bin. This right here, oh, and I should have showed you this before. I had a piece out. This is beech. This is what beech looks like. Very good firewood also, so that's what the bark looks like. So this is all beech here. And then right here's where the beech ends. And then all the way through here, this is all hickory. There's shagbark hickory and smooth bark bitternut hickory. You can see the hickory right there. So in these two bins, there's a mixture of everything. There is some beech, there is some birch in here. There's some soft maple I can see right there. There's probably some ash in here, just kind of a mix here. This is right here. This is all soft maple right here in that bin. And then this one right here, this has all birch in it. This is all birch. This is all birch. This is all birch in these. Over here is mixed hardwood, so you're gonna have ash. There's gonna be elm, soft maple, probably some box elder. There may be a few pieces of some. In these bins here that Bert stacked over here, this is all white pine in here. This is where we get our white pine from, or where it goes. Then in this bin here is mixed hardwood. All the way through here, lots of oak and ash in here. And then this right here, from here all the way down to the end, no, all the way to right here. I can tell by looking at it, this is right here where it ends. This is red oak. And then right here, this is all ash, 100% ash, all of this. This was all free wood that we put in here this year. So that's all ash. And then right next to it over here, this is all ash in here. And then this is the only amount of oak that we got that's white oak that's left over from last year. There's a little bit right here. And then on this end down here is more ash. That's what this whole pile is here, all ash. There may be a couple other sticks of some other stuff in there like soft maple. The next bin over is all soft maple all the way to right here. And then everything from here down is all red oak. This is all red oak here. And this has been in here for over a year now, so it's getting down there. This whole bin here used to be as high as that one, so this was all full. We just kind of keep taking off the top, and eventually we're gonna empty this whole bin out, and we're gonna take this bin out of here. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna have those two left. We'll be able to access this one from this side, and that one from that side. And then these two over here will be able to access this one from this side, and then that one from the other side. So that's kind of our plan. Over here is where we put all of our cherry. This is the stuff I bought from my new best friend, Adam. So I've already sold a lot of this off. You can see the pile is already shrinking. Over here, this was a big pile. This originally had about, I think 12 or probably 10 full cords of wood in here. We've sold all that off. That's a mix of stuff. Over there is where we put our brush that we're gonna be grinding up all the stuff from tree jobs, and that's a lot of birch wood over there. Those are all cookies and odds and ends in the cages. This right here just got split from a tree job that we just got done. This is spruce. This is cottonwood. This right here is basswood from Bert's tree in the front that I ripped up. You guys saw those videos. Those are the basswood chunks there. And then over here, this is all barkless oak. These are the small ones. This also is barkless oak right here. And this here is also all barkless red oak all the way to right here. And then this is all ash that we got back in the woods. These are waiting to be processed. That's all wood that got processed. That is all red oak. And then over here is a mix of stuff. So this is all elm here, elm. This is ironwood, hard maple, ash. So this is a bunch of different stuff. This pile over here, this is all locust that we got from Logger L's dad. That's all I've got left. So this is all a mix of stuff. Here's some ash poles. And like I said, over here is more ash. And then this here is the red oak. And then this is a mix of stuff from a job that we bought. And this is box elder, ash, soft maple. There was some apple wood in there. A little bit of everything. And then we're back to the big bin over here. So there you go. You got to see a bunch of wood. That's it for today, folks. Poke the buttons. I'll be back tomorrow morning, 5:30 a.m. with another video for you. Right now, you're going to go watch all the other videos. There's 1,400 on my channel waiting for you. If you like what you saw, there's a whole bunch more there. Good night, Irene.